All right. Welcome to the Road to 1K sub playlist series. My name is Denny Cards. I'm going to go live. I'm going to do this one live. I feel like this is the fifth part or fifth rendition of this playlist. And I feel like the first four went okay. I feel like the first part was very edited, heavily edited, and I did a lot of like these YouTube tricks that I've been learning as I try to kind of educate myself with the content on YouTube and consumption and production and things like that. And then for this fifth one, I wanted to do it live. Part four, I did in a kind of live stream, simulcast by StreamYard. And then I didn't make any edits. I just published it. This time, it's kind of like a similar format. I am going live. And so, if something pops up in the chat, I might do that. I might kind of like talk about that. But every single part has been different. And I find myself just trying different things. I feel like I still don't know, even though I've been doing content for about 2 years now. Like I almost like in a way don't know my own voice yet because it keeps changing, it keeps evolving or devolving, however you want to put it. But I feel like this has become almost it's like my card diary as to my journey with this whole like YouTube, trying to grow it into some sort of, because again 1000 is when you can start monetizing. So monetization isn't like the end goal, especially with the hobby. For me, it's not like I need to make all the money and to make this worthwhile. I am enjoying the journey. It is fun, but it is definitely a grind, and that's what I want to talk about today. And so for part five, I'm going to call this the why. And I didn't give any heads up to anyone on YouTube or Instagram that I was going live, and that's okay. So I am currently at 467 subscribers. The last one in part four, that was a month ago, and I was at 415. So doing the math, quick napkin math, that's 52 subs. And so thank you to each and every one of you, whether you're a recent subscriber or subscribed earlier than that. But this is what slow organic growth looks like. And it is just really such a grind. And today I wanted to talk about that grind and why folks like us do this. There is no expected or anticipated or promised payout or guarantee at the end that this is all going to work out. And so even though this series is about my personal road to 1000, my hope is that it encourages you or inspires you to either start on that personal road to 1000, or encourage you if you have been on that road to this point. But I think the thing, the tone and tenor of today's, part five is it's going to be encouragement, but in the form of discouragement, if that makes sense. Because I kind of wanted to share my frustration because, as someone who has been known to kind of like be very, open with my content and kind of like, people like to say the word authentic, which I don't even I feel like everyone should be authentic, but I know that's not the case. But that just means, for me, I do show my good days and my bad days. So um let's get to, it's not like a bad day, but like a just not in the best mood. So I'll just kind of share it. So I'm currently recording this on a Sunday evening. It is December 8th, and I'm recording this after what I published were two really like good vlogs, like awesome card shows. One was a private exclusive one in San Antonio, and then another one was a public not exclusive one in Silver Spring, Maryland. So for the first one, I did travel to that, and it was like this really fun, like almost like mini vacation or trip. And I stayed in a hotel and I flew. And then the other one, the Silver Spring one, was it was an easy drive from my house. It was a local show in the DMV, which is what we call the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And the styles of the vlogs and the styles of the shows were very different. I mean, we're talking about one being exclusive, one being not, one being kind of like more intimate and small, the other one being bigger and kind of like your regular run of the mill show. And attending both of them was a lot of fun. It really was. and I wanted to show you, the viewer, my personal, in the lens of my personal vlog style, which I totally understand does run long. I think, I admire people who are able to kind of truncate down, an entire days of a card show into, like, 10 minutes. I just don't know how to do that, or I feel like if I did, I would just be cutting out a lot of things that I like, and maybe that's part of trying to become a better editor, is learning how to do that more. But I think for me, the frustration is that I just thought that those 2 vlogs or those 2 videos were just going to, like, not like leapfrog me immediately into 1,000 subscribers, but I just thought that I would have gotten more subscribers than I did. The views weren't as high as I thought. What's crazy about the views is, like, if you I read this somewhere where they're like, don't be discouraged by 100 or 200 views, because imagine if all of those people were in one, classroom or auditorium, like, a school auditorium, you would be thrilled that that many people were watching your content. And so it is a game of, like, comparison, and, like, kind of, and as we know, comparison is can be the thief of joy. And so for me, I think it's trying to learn to manage my expectations, manage, temper my expectations and my hopes and all that. But yeah, I definitely appreciate people who have been checking out my content. Speaking of, I see in the chat, Q Train. I am going to put this up into the. This is part 5 of the road to 1K, but this is a live stream, so I'm going to say, I'm going to read out his comment, which was, ending the day with my favorite podcast. Thank you so much, Q Train. You're like one of the OGs. You're one of the, just original people who have supported me, local, and I mean, thank you so much, Ethan. You're excellent. So, but yeah, it's like, much as it's kind of wild. Like, you can have people who really like you and support you, but it's like, you know, you'd like to think that it's enough, but as a content creator, there is this ego part of me that just makes me want to, do more and have more support, or you see the numbers go, the analytics, just kind of like do its thing. And I think that what it's really hard for me with YouTube is that my growth in Instagram was just so fast and so sudden, and it surprised a lot of other people because they would tell me that they were surprised, and I just didn't realize that. I feel like with YouTube, I've really I've been having to, like, earn it more, and I think maybe it's almost like, trying to earn, trying to net a profit on value bins and dollar boxes and grinding, right? It's almost like if you can immediately get to the high end cards and flip those cards for profit. I mean, think about just one high end sale where you can net, like, 10% of $1,000 card, and that's not even high end, right? 10,000, whatever. Yeah, if you can net 10% on $10,000 card, you're talking about $1,000. You'd have to go months and months doing low end sales on eBay to get to $1,000 profit. So, um, I feel like it's you know the good days, I'm like, yeah, it's grind and I'm working, I'm hustling, it's going really well, or I'm trying really hard. And then, there are days today where I'm like, man, like, I've put so much time and effort into these vlogs. They're not jumping out. They're not resulting in a lot of views and subscribes as I hoped. And so, like, it's hard. I mean, it can get, dispiriting or defeating. I don't know, one of those two. And but I'm not going to stop. I hope you don't stop. If you're watching this and you're feeling discouraged too by the road to your own personal 1,000, I hope you don't stop, because I think there's this thing that people say online on YouTube where they're like, you're just the next video away. And you can say that about social media or about going viral or whatever it is, whatever you want. It's, what if? And it's kind of funny because that what if is almost like opening up wax. It's like, yes, the ROI is bad. Yes, you're going to get dusted, but what if? What if you get that Paul Skeens one of one debut patch and all that stuff? So I guess it is ultimately, at the end of the day, it's almost like this, you're grabbing on to hope, right? You're just hoping that, it's just your luck is going to turn around, or or whatever it is. But of course, there's that saying, you make your own luck. So, um, as I record this, like I said, I'm recording this December 8th on a Sunday. Um, before I get to my whys, because I do want to get to that, I guess we're at the 10-minute mark right now. I wanted to say that I am going to be editing. I am currently in the middle of editing and so that I can publish this week some non-sports content. It's still in the hobby because we're talking about trading cards, but Pokemon TCG. I went to a GameStop, actually more than one GameStop, as you'll see in my upcoming videos. But I went to multiple GameStops, multiple GameStops, and I ripped both sports and non-sports. And I'm kind of like leaning into that content. I was watching a little bit of my part 4 in this series, and I alluded to how I should make a third or another video about GameStop. And since that time, GameStop and PSA have kind of like not merged, but they've been kind of like doing more things together. And Nat Turner, the CEO of PSA and Collectors World, or Collectors, sorry, Collectors Universe, it has a board seat on GameStop, and I just feel like it's here to stay. If these much smarter and much richer people are really staking their claim into what previously has been known to be such a meme stock of GameStop, I feel like it's here to stay. I just It's kind of weird because there are times I've gone into GameStops where there's like no one in there, and I'm like, it's not like I came here on a completely random time. It's like I feel like I'm there. I'm not there on like I guess a new release day of like NCAA 24 or like Madden 24. But it's kind of interesting that I don't think retail is dead, but as we know, with the prevalence of, online behemoths like Amazon, that brick and mortar is just really hard to maintain. So, but it does seem like GameStop is trying to pivot, and they're trying to go more electronic or more digital, or fight off the digital. They're trying to fight off the reduction in physical copies of video games sales because they're going digital, and so they're trying to do maybe more cards and more collectibles and things like that. So I guess that's what I was trying to say. Um, so I have that coming up. I have an interview with Nick Andrews, the Boston Card Hunter, coming up. And then the third thing that I'm doing this week is I'm breaking. I know breakers tend to do this. What am I trying to say? The industry of breaking exists to generate profit. I plan to break at cost a case of blaster boxes of 2023-24 premium stock hoops, because it was in my, and I've talked about this in the past, but like my Jeff, the owner of the Ace Hardware in my local area, he had a case, and he reached out, and I was like, I kind of want to do it. It's the one retail product that I'm really excited to see. I've seen some really good openings, some not too good ones, but I feel like out of all the retail wax for basketball that's out there, it's probably my favorite and the one that I can't wait to open. So, I'm gonna try to fill it with with as many people who want to get into it, random teams, so I don't have to like figure out how much each team costs. Basically, I'm going to rip it at cost, and if it doesn't fill, I'm just gonna fill the rest of the spots. That's my plan. Is just again, it's breaking his the origin of breaking was not to turn a profit. It was just so that people can get together and get into opening up expensive or more volume of sealed wax in a more inexpensive way by fractionalizing it or partitioning it out. So that's my plan. So I got some pretty fun things coming up, and we'll see if that results in more subscribers. If it doesn't, again, you're just another video away, I guess. So I'll do another, I don't know, another part in this playlist series about maybe like hanging on to that hope. But again, this one is called The Why. And so I guess, I've talked about the niche and like the total addressable market, this and that. And so I will say that my why, and it's going to be different for you, but maybe not so much because I've seen the demographics and it doesn't break it down by, say, like, race, but it does break it down by gender. It does break it down by age. Instagram does the same thing. There's no racial demographics, but there's age and gender demographics and location, geographical location. So I know a lot of you are from the US, most of you from the East Coast. Again, I don't have like the numbers in front of me, so I'm just saying like like just random vague adjectives, but um most of you are middle-aged and men, so like between the ages of like 35 to 44, I think was one of the breakdowns. And if you're like me, you collected as a kid and you are a middle-aged hobbyist in the East Coast and of the United States of America. And I don't know if you took a break. I don't know if I took two breaks. Like I collected in the 90s. I stopped in the late 90s. I came back in the late 2000s, ended 2012, and then I came back 10 years later, which was 2022. So when I came back to a very different hobby landscape. I came back to a landscape that was probably the biggest change in difference was not just the price of wax, retail and hobby, but which was absolutely insane and so surprising, but it was also grading. Grading was like the number one thing that I think was so different because yes, maybe I kind of heard about Beckett grading services in like that 2007 to 2012 time. Definitely not as a kid. You kind of knew to like keep your cards in great shape and put it in a penny sleeve and a top loader. Actually, some of us did not even put it in a penny sleeve. They just put them in top loaders. We put them in binders. We put them in screw downs. So yeah, the actual condition of those cards was not exactly the most pristine or a gem mint. But having said that, came back to a very different hobby landscape, and it really is almost like visiting a different planet in the solar system, or maybe a better analogy is like you're visiting a different country, on in the world, because it's the same hobby, it's the same essence. The core essence is trading cards. I mean, it's supposed to be trading because of course there's so much more buying and selling, but it's cards, right? It's like the 2.5 by 3.5 cardboard. The thickness can vary definitely nowadays with patches and manufactured patches and these debut patches and what putting in sneakers and parts of sneakers and all that. But at the end of the day, it is collecting cards, and yet that's the world, right? We're collecting cards, but then you have like all these different, I don't know, countries, or it's like so many different things to do. Like I don't remember kids cutting up cards, carving cards up for custom card art. I Custom card art is something I found out about when I came back into the hobby 2 years ago. And I will give a shout out, or I'll say what Red03 says, "What's up?" I say, "What's up?" as well. Hope you're well tonight, my friend. Thank you for being here. But I just feel like the actual hobby landscape has just been so different than what I remembered. And so my why is like I want to capture that feeling of being a kid when I was collecting my 90s cards, but now it's gotten more complicated. It's like more rules or laws. And I know it's not like illegal, but like there's more things that people do nowadays to try to accentuate the value of their collection by grading, by cleaning. And Red, great point. I mean, you're on point with what I'm trying to say here, which is the 90s for me is the best era for hobbyists. It's like you're making my point for me. Thank you. And I agree with you. The 90s were the best, even though it was junk wax. I mean, I mean, imagine not ever having seen a refractor in your whole life. and then all of a sudden a refractor drops on you and you're like 10 and you're like, what is this? Probably is how people feel about seeing debut patches, or the MLB debut patches. They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so for us, guys in the guys and gals in the 90s, if you're 10 years old and you're seeing serial numbered cards, you're seeing refractors, you're seeing die cut cards. Because we take die cut cards for granted nowadays, for sure we do. But back then, it was like, oh my goodness, like I remember seeing my first like upper deck die cut hardcore. It was like an all-star game. There's like, it was die cut in the shape of the top of the key. And I was just like, this is so cool. Those cards are like $1 now, but it doesn't matter. Like I should probably go for the whole set at this point. But yeah, Red, thank you for being here and sharing these comments, because you're like totally, it's like you're in my head and you're making these points for me. 90s, you didn't care about centering and grading. Yeah, I could not tell you. I know that the Scoring Kings, the Michael Jordan, I have learned how to figure out the centering from looking at the back of the card, but like I don't remember even thinking, like, you didn't need a protractor to collect as a kid. You just didn't, right? I mean, that stuff didn't matter at all. And so Red, again, it's all about getting the players you collect. Absolutely, 100%. And yet we've turned this into a monetization machine where some people want to accentuate their hobby experience by getting into the transactional side. And I will say, as a content creator, it's like, man, it's so hard for me to, sometimes it's, do I want to be a better content creator and go the creative side, or do I want to become a better transactor and like make more money off the content? And I know there's some people who do a really good job of both, and they've been doing it for a while. I think it helps when you're younger and you have less, like family obligations. But I'm not making excuses for myself, but my time, like all of you, it's limited. And so I'm getting sidetracked, but I love this conversation. Red says, if you pulled a Jordan, boom, you're famous in your group. Absolutely, Red. I've said this before, but I'll share it with you in case you haven't heard it before. I remember when I pack pulled my one and only first ever Jordan Scoring Kings with the lightning in the background. I felt like that lightning was coming through me. I remember the store owner just being so happy and thrilled for me, and was like, they didn't try to like buy it off me or fleece me, or like, they were just happy for me because they've seen me rip a lot of wax there, and it was like me getting that card. I remember that card in the Beckett price guide. I forget what the low was, because if you're like me, we only thought about the highs, right? But I'm pretty sure that the high, the value, the monetary value. Oh my gosh, have I been this whole time? I think I've been on high gain. Sorry about that. Um, the monetary value in the high column in the Beckett magazine was $100. I think maybe the low was like 50 or 75, something like that. But that card raw is more than that now, and of course you have the the graded copies, and we all know PSA gets you the most money on the secondary market, all that stuff. But man, when I pulled that thing, I mean, the store owner was happy for me. My friends were happy for me. My parents had no clue. They're just like, okay, if you're happy, that's great. I don't even remember telling them, but yeah, you are famous in your group if you pull one of those. And I don't think any of my other friends pulled a Jordan. I think they've pulled, like the Barkley or the Dominic Wilkins or the Ewing or something like that. But and the Shaq, I remember, I think one of my friends pulled a Shaq, and we were so happy for him. But yeah, you're right, Red. Beckett is the Bible for collectors in the 90s. Man, that was, I still have some, I should show my old Beckett's. So anyway, I'm deviating. We're at the 25-minute mark. I feel like, I mean, Red, I mean, tell me, if you want to put in the comments why we do any of this stuff, right? Whether it is content creation, YouTube, just collecting, like the hobby journey, whatever you're going through. I mean, I would love to know. But having said that, for me, it's like I'm chasing my childhood. I'm chasing that nostalgia. I'm chasing that like high, that dopamine hit of pulling a really nice card. And of course, if you're trying to rip open 90s wax, it's so expensive and it's different and all that. But like, there's like we're all chasing something. And and people say that, I'm a cloud chaser. I don't even like that word, but whatever. Like, people can say whatever they want to say. But yeah, I want to chase some cool cards for my PC that, and my PC does, continue to mainly be basketball, mainly be 90s. But I do deviate. Again, recently I've been doing some more TCG. It's about connecting and relating. As we know, as guys, middle-aged guys, it's harder to make friends. I don't know. It's so easy to make friends when you're in college, or when you're like, a young adult, and you can go to happy hour and all that. And as you get older, it's harder. It is. But then there's also the connecting and relating part with, like, your family, your kids. And that's, I think, part of my reason for wanting to do more Pokemon is to connect with them, because they have no meaning to me, the actual Pokemon cards. But because I didn't collect in the 1999 was the first, year Pokemon cards and all that. And I didn't collect cards at that time, Pokemon cards. But my kids love them. So if I feel like I've been trying to not force them to, but like, I've been trying to encourage them to want to collect basketball cards. And they love basketball, but they don't love basketball cards. They love Pokemon cards. So if that's the case, like, maybe I lean into that a little bit more. Like, I think the reason I don't want to lean into that is because I'm worried about what people are gonna say, or what are they're gonna say, oh, he's moving on to Pokemon because his YouTube channel, it sucks, or whatever. I mean, I disagree, but I also think that it's smart for me to see what the algorithm or what the analytics are telling me. And if it's saying do more GameStop stuff, to, consider it. And so, and right now, in the retail wax you can get at GameStops are, it's slim pickings, at least from what I saw, and you'll see in the videos coming up really soon. And all of the stuff about the middle age and the nostalgia and all that stuff, like, this is stuff that my younger listeners might not really understand until they're older. It's like when you watch Fight Club as a kid, or like a teenager, or like a young adult, you're like, yeah, that's awesome. And like, Brad Pitt, he looks so jacked. And then you get older and Fight Club just takes a different meaning, because now you're like, oh, like, that's what it's really about. Not just like that, like, not just like Jared Leto and, Ed Norton and Brad Pitt, but like the actual story behind it. Okay, so Red asks, "What's Jordan's first acetate card?" I mean, I guess my question, or my answer, without looking anything up, is I'm thinking Bowman's best. I think, unless it's the Skybox EX credentials. Those are the two that, I mean, acetate, and how much of the card has to be acetate? Is it like part of it? Is it the entire thing? Because Bowman's Best had the entire card was acetate. So I mean, you tell me. You tell me if I answered your question the way you wanted me to. And Red says he just started collecting Pokemon and NFL. Thanks for being here. So it's not like me just talking to myself, Red. I really appreciate you. And DM me on Instagram if you have the time, or if you have an Instagram account. But again, like, for me, it's like connecting and relating to people, whether they're loved ones and close, or whether they're complete strangers. It's about, why do we do this? For me, it's the relationships and the community building and all that. For some people, the why is, I want to make a lot of money doing this, and I want to make money with this hobby that I love. It's more than just a hobby. It's an actual business. And so, I there's nothing against people who that's their why. And the people who want to monetize YouTube, again, 1000 is when you can monetize, but that's not the end goal. The end goal is for me set to achieve a goal that I set for myself. And I will say, I'm very curious to see, once you do get monetized and once you're at 1,000, like, what does the YouTube studio dashboard look like, and how does the money, when it comes in, how does it look? Because I've heard you get X amount of, cents or dollars per 1,000 views. Like, that's stuff I want to share with all of you. Like, I want to see that, and I'm not going to hide that information. What I want to do is get to that point and start sharing more of that. And so So that's what I want to say about that. And I guess the other thing I'll say, and I didn't think I was going to go 30 minutes on this one, but at the end of my last card show vlog, the one about Silver Spring, I did mention something that I really debated as to whether I wanted to keep it in, but it was about, a sobering subject, which is, death. And we all have different relationships with death. And I know it can be a very difficult topic for some people. For me, the reason I brought up that topic was because it made me appreciate going to that card show a lot more. It's like, um, two of my neighborhood dads, like dads in the local neighborhood community, they passed away. One more suddenly than the other, and yet, the deaths happened pretty close to each other in proximity of time. And so I just feel like, in almost in a selfish way, it makes me and you, like a lot of people, it makes you kind of reflect and think about your own life and the meaning of life and the meaning of death and all that. So it kind of, that was almost like the mindset or the headspace. Yeah, maybe that's the word. That was the headspace that I was in when I went into that card show. So I wanted to put that at the end to just kind of like talk about that and just, help myself process it, but also, you know, kind of give you a glimpse as to the thought process. Um, and also to, like, it is an absolute privilege to be in this hobby. I think that was my end comment, which was, it is an absolute, we get to have hobby problems. Like, we don't want hobby problems, but when we have them, the silver lining is that none of it is like actually unless this is a business for you, which that's a totally different thing. But unless this is a business for you, like this hobby, like, yes, it sucks so much because it's happened to me. It sucks so much if you ding a corner on a really nice card or a PC card, but it's almost like, you know um it's kind of gravy. It's like, it's all gravy. It's a hobby. So yes, you don't want to, like, let's say your hobby is shipbuilding, with the little tweezers or whatever people do with shipbuilding with the little pieces. But let's say you like mess something up, like, it sucks, but at least it happened in the realm of a hobby and not like your, your profession, or, like, something having to do with your family, or like, God forbid, like if you're a surgeon and we're playing Operation, the board game. The surgeons they're doing the real operations. So, you know, uh, I just, that was the headspace I was in. Red, I'm gonna read a couple of more comments and then I'm probably gonna have to end this really soon. He asks me, got a question, sir. What's your reaction and comment about giveaways? Um, I don't know what that means. Uh, the giveaway. Oh, okay. You're talking about part 4 of the giveaway. So I already ran the giveaway. A local person actually won it. I had like 17 entries, and it happened to be a local card friend. But it already ran. It wasn't only for the US. Red says, I have a lots of friends from the EU and Asia. They get discouraged if they are not included in the contest. There are a lot of foreign subscribers and they felt left behind. Red, I totally understand what you're saying. This is actually why I wanted to do more YouTube than podcast, because what I didn't realize was, until some of my Korean hobby friends told me, it was like, oh, we would support your podcast, but we just don't get Spotify and Apple Podcasts in South Korea. And they're like, "What, we get YouTube?" And I was like, "Oh, well, that's a good thing." Like, and I think YouTube even has like recently an auto translator. I don't even know what it's all about, but I do want to make this more accessible, and I do want to make my contests and giveaways more accessible. That said, my contests and giveaways are not like Pac-Man's contests and giveaways. So I'm not giving away like $1,000 cards or backyard breaks saying that they're going to give out $1,000 card and then not give it away. My giveaways are like $10 to $20 or something like that. But I'll definitely keep that in mind. And believe me, I'm all about trying to make this more of a I love my hobbyists and my card friends, not just in South Korea, but like in Germany and um Canada is a foreign country from the U.S., but like Germany, um, I have some listeners of the podcast who are from like South America and other parts of Europe, and so like Australia, that's another big one. But I'll ship out. I mean, I really would. It's again, it's not about the money. Like, who cares if the shipping is $15 instead of $5? Like, does that really matter at the in the grand scheme of things? But yeah, no, I'll keep that in mind for sure, Red. Yeah, I and then Neo comes in with saying spoilers, it's like $10 to $12 per thousand views. That's about what I heard. Again, like, that's pretty much in line. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Neo, that that number can change depending on the topic or the industry or the again the total addressable market. What I've heard is that if you are in the say like finance YouTube section, that could actually be more. Maybe medical too. Again, I don't know the everything when it comes to the different segments and industries, but that could be different. Yeah, Neo says here, niche or niche plays a big role, and so thank you, Neo, for being here and saying that. Um, but yeah, I it's really interesting because now that Neo's here, and Red says, "Thank you for taking the time for my question." Absolutely, Red. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. Neo did a podcast, not a podcast, but he did an interview with Nat Turner, who I mentioned earlier in this video, about having a board seat on GameStop. And I just feel like it just makes sense in many different ways for me to try to do some more GameStop content or or TCG or Pokemon content. Again, like whether I am connecting and relating with my fellow middle-aged dudes who are going through maybe not midlife crises, whether it's cars CARS or cards CARDS, or connecting and relating with like my own family and my kids who love Pokemon. So I don't think it's mutually exclusive. It's not like you can only do one thing or another. Perfect prime example, Neo right here. Again, didn't plan for him to be here, but Neo Cards and Comics does cards and comics. When he talks about comics, it just plays. I'm interested. I'll listen, or I'll try to give it a listen, or I'll try to try to learn about that. And I did collect comic books when I was a kid, like the main ones I remember, like Infinity Gauntlet and like Max with like two X's, and then there's like Spawn. Anyway, I don't think I'll be Denny Comics. I think I'll stick to Denny Cards. But Denny Cards, it's not just I'm not Denny Sports Cards. I'm Denny Cards, which is sports and non-sports. So again, for those of you who are joining just now, which thank you for being here. I am going to end this really soon, but this upcoming week, I have coming up a GameStop video. I have an interview, podcast interview with Nick Andrews, Boston Card Hunter. And the third thing is I am doing a break of a case of 2023-24 premium stock hoops blasters. There's 20 of them in a case. I did the math. $32 a blaster, 20 blasters, that's $640. Divide that by 30 NBA teams, random. You do a randomizer. That's $21.33. I know all of this because I wrote it down, and I feel like when I write things down, I remember them more. But each team is $25. And so if you'd like to be in it, please reach out to me on Instagram at Denny_cards. And if you don't, and if you just want to watch, that's cool too. And that's the thing about this break is I don't want to charge people for shipping unless they actually get cards. So you can send me another payment of $25, not another payment of 25, another payment of $5 to get your card shipped to you, and that'll cover the cost of shipping. That said, there might be people who only get base cards. And I did want to say for this particular break, again, I am doing at cost. And what I want to do is I want to see the cool cards. I want to see what's pulled out of that case because we've got to get a case hit out of those 20 blasters. But I want to give those base cards that are non-rookie, that are just like the run-of-the-mill base cards. I want to give those cards to my local community of youth basketball players, and so that they can have something, fun. So I feel like it'll be a win-win situation. Well, if you skunk, it's going to be win lose. Let's be real. And some of you may skunk. Having said that, I'm going to fill the rest of the spots that aren't, the rest of the teams that aren't taken up. So it will run December 12th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Why do I say 6 p.m. Standard? 6 p.m. Pacific. And watch out for the Boston Card Hunter interview that's going to be happening this week, and also that GameStop video release, which I plan for that to be like a multi-part series. It'll make sense once you watch it. I couldn't just go to one GameStop. Nothing against the employees there, but they gave me maybe not the most accurate information. So I did go on a little bit of a goose chase. But again, that's the journey. That's the fun, right? It's like life gives you lemons, you make lemonade type of thing. So that's it for tonight's random impromptu live. Again, this was part 5, the why, when it comes to why are we doing any of this, whether it is content consumption, content creation, collecting, just all of it. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you have an excellent week in the hobby. I'll have to find a good way to do intros and outros, but until then, just bear with me. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Red. Thank you, Neo. Thank you, Q, for being here earlier. Hope you guys are well. And yeah, take care.